Hey everybody, Scott Jones here with Dana McMahon, and you are joining us for our first edition of Successful Recovery. Dana, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm just ducky. This is great. We're going to have a good show, aren't we?
We are, always.
I hope so. I hope so. What this show is about, folks, is looking at recovery from addiction and, all forms of addiction and alcoholism in a different way, and strategies, different things that can be done. We're not here to tell anybody that they're doing things wrong, but we certainly believe there's some missing pieces that people need. Do you agree with that statement?
Absolutely. I think it's there's so many different avenues one can take to get sober, and there's no one way for anything. And I think, but it's important to look at certain things that may be missing, right?
Yeah. I think sometimes we're so wrapped up in the treatment of the addiction that we forget to prepare them for life after that treatment.
Right. And I believe it's everything. My experience of going to many treatment centers in my addiction, it's always was, all right, we're learning about our addiction and getting coping mechanisms and being able to talk about our feelings, and all this stuff is wonderful and it's important. But what do I do and how do I put it to my life when I walk out the door? Because my experience was at the beginning of trying to get sober, I would relapse a lot of times 24 hours after I'd walk out the door.
Right.
Because life would hit me in the face, and I'd just be like, all right, I'm too scared.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, how do I live?
As soon as there's that discomfort or that unknowing feeling that you don't have that confidence, of course you're going to return right back to the thing that made you feel good before.
Right, and that's everything. So to me, it's about what do I learn in a safe environment to be able to transfer into my life.
Okay.
That's everything to me, because we can talk about Alcoholics Anonymous, we can talk about Narcotics Anonymous and the principles behind it and the steps, and all those are wonderful, but what do I do in life, you know, and how do I get a job? How do I have relationships? How do I communicate? How do I set boundaries?
Yes.
How do I build a work ethic?
You know, and for some people out there, you might be thinking like these are just normal things that everybody goes through. And we're in total agreement on that. Everyday so-called, quote marks here, normal people go through navigating how to survive in the world, how to build relationships, how to keep relationships, how to take care of themselves. The thing is that when you're dealing with addiction and alcoholism, there's that escape built in, that when things get harder, we don't know what to do. It's easy to turn back to the destructive behavior and pretty much just kind of like, you know, you broke the shoelace, so you're throwing the shoes away, everything, you know?
Yeah.
You don't know how to just fix the shoelace and move on.
Well, absolutely. I think a lot of it is I don't know how to live. I don't have a drug problem. I have a me problem. I literally have no idea how to live in any form or fashion. Most of us, not all, there's many people that are successful in business and build a life and get married and then you know, become addicted or become alcoholics, or they always were, and you know, the progression, and got worse later in life with their disease. But most start at a very young age, and you got to think about it. When we're getting sober, you're not dealing with the 30-year-old. You're dealing with a person wherever they started at. That's the brain mentality. Like one of my favorite mentors said, you're a newborn baby when you walk out the door. Yeah. That's literally the mentality, you know. And we gotta nurture that baby, and we gotta walk them through the process. No running, no skipping ahead. It's walking them through this process on how do I do the simple things, because if you keep it simple, my experience is it does there's a lot more success. When we get real complicated into stuff, it gets mucky, because I can complicate the hell out of anything as an addict. Right.
You know, we spend so much time, someone who is in an addiction, an inactive addiction, spends so much time simply surviving, moment-to-moment survival, that the actual living skills that other people are learning during that time, you're not learning. So if it's easier to understand it that way for our listeners, is, you know, it's like they dropped out of high school before school even began. And so all the kids who went through high school are getting their diplomas and they've learned how to do things. The person who dropped out did not. So that's the same thing. When you drop out of life into addiction, you're not learning those life skills that everybody else is learning. And there's a regression, both emotionally and psychologically and socially, that happens. So when these people have a problem and they decide to get help, you're right. They are starting like a newborn. They're starting from ground zero. And the funny thing is you can go into a treatment center, you see somebody who's 18 years old and somebody else who's 45 years old, you know, and even somebody who's maybe 60 years old. And they're almost all at that same point of they don't know how to do anything. Right. They don't know how to take care of themselves. They don't know how to interact with other people, build relationships, be honest.
Number one. And very erratic behaviors, very irrational a lot of times, very all over the place, right? So first and foremost, a lot of that stuff comes back with time. A lot of addiction and healing from addiction is time, right? So, but you can't just sit there and hope it's like over time it's going to get better. There needs to be a lot of work that's done in that time period, right? And hopefully you continue to want to grow. I feel like in my recovery, I'm constantly growing and, you know, just being pushed in a certain direction. I'm like, all right, I'm not very good at this. I gotta do some work, right? And or whatever. And it's just constantly evolving. And my experience is if your recovery isn't evolving and you're not exploring new opportunities and not doing different things, usually we get in a stagnant point, and that's where you see a lot of relapses. That's where you see a lot of all kinds of stuff, bad behaviors in sobriety, right? Right. That lead to a relapse down the road. And I always try to tell guys that it's you got to respect the process, respect the journey, right? And you got to walk through this and the willingness to go in many different directions. Because I definitely didn't think I'd be here. Right, I definitely didn't think I'd be where I am today, and it's all about learning.
Speaking of being here, I guess we should let people know about us. I mean, we're passionate about this because we're both in recovery.
Absolutely.
And you have 4 years?
Yep, 4 years sober. Been through the ringer in my disease of addiction, multiple treatment centers, over 30. You know, in and out of jail, all due to my addiction. Been through it and seen many different forms of treatment.
I did not go through rehab. I went through the traditional 12-step method. The only way that worked for me, the only reason that worked for me was because I actually surrounded myself with a very large group of people who all mentored me in every aspect of my life, including people I worked with, friends, people who helped me with my relationships and my finances and in all of those things, and my legal issues. You know, I had a really great group of people around me, and very few of them had to spend a whole lot of time telling me, Scott, you know, drinking's bad for you or drugs are bad for you. They didn't have to tell. I knew that. Yeah. What they had to tell me and what they did tell me and what worked was, and he told me, you know what you can do without those things? Do you know what you could do without alcohol in you? Do you know what you can achieve? Let me show you what you can do. And they started to light me up on the inside, and I became passionate about having a life that was different. And I think that's a big key of what's missing right now is we spend so much time telling them what not to do when they're in treatment, or even people who are in the 12 steps. At times this happens. We spend so much time saying, don't do this, don't do that. Well, you know, Dan, if you're like me, you tell me not to do something, guess what I want to do?
I'm doing it.
I got to tell you, I was at dinner. This was like a couple years ago with my mother, and she's a little older, and you're supposed to be wiser, right? And the waiter brought the plate to the table, sat it down, and said, don't touch this. And the first thing she did, touch the damn plate.
Of course.
Now, if the waiter did not say that, and she looked at it and saw the steam coming off of the plate and everything, she would make her determination and not touch it. But the moment somebody says don't do something, we want to do it.
Absolutely.
So I tell first thing I tell people, and I didn't go through treatment, but I've worked in treatment for many years, and I've been in a lot of different treatment centers and walked away from some because of what we were talking about, how they're very narrow in their treatment. But the first thing I tell people is, let's get rid of the language. Let's stop saying I can't. The moment I say I can't drink, guess what? There's a little voice in the back of my head says, but yeah, you can. Yeah, you want to,
Absolutely.
So what I say is, of course I can drink. I choose not to. Changing that simple phrase from I can't do drugs to I choose not to. Now you're taking power. You're taking control. You're making the decision. The minute you tell me I can't do something, I want to do it. Even if I don't want to do it, I want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, understanding, there's a difference between understanding that I know if I do these things,
yes,
I'm screwed.
Right.
Like, I know if I do any mind-altering substance, I will take it out of control. I will go insane with it. Right. And for me, it's about, I think we all learn differently. I think we all grow differently. I think we all grow at our own pace. Right. But number one thing to me is am I capable of being honest? First and foremost, not with others as much as myself.
Right.
Because if I can't be honest with myself, I will never get sober. And that's just my experience. I was such a liar to myself, and I believed it, and the drugs had such a hold on me that I couldn't see clearly. My perception was so gone. And
it's a big cycle, though.
Yeah, it's just
if you lie to others, eventually you'll start lying to yourself. And if you're lying to yourself, you can't possibly not lie to others. So it's an endless cycle.
It's just nonstop, right? And for me, it's like you said something that I really related with was like people loved you till you could love yourself, right?
Yes.
Helped build your confidence, and that was everything. I had no confidence that I could succeed in anything. The only thing I had success with was a little bit of hockey when I was younger. I was a big hockey player. I was really good. I screwed that up, though.
Well, you Boston here.
Yeah. And I screwed that up, right? Anything that was ever important to me when I was a child or younger and teenagers, I lost. I blew it up, right? Yeah. And it all contributed to this lack of confidence I had. And all I knew how to do was do drugs and sell them, right? So in my mind, it was like, all right, I'd get out of treatment, or I'd go to these places and sign up, and I'd be all in because I hated living that way. I hated being controlled by the drugs. I hated being a mess. But I had no idea or belief in myself, like that I could actually succeed without drugs or without, just that whole lifestyle. So for me, my sponsor in AA, I like to think I went to treatment, but I got sober in AA.
Right.
And that's the reality.
The treatment stabilized you, cleaned you up, and gave you an opportunity to seek sobriety.
Correct. And it cleared the path for me to be able to do that. Yeah. And my sponsor, forever grateful for him. He's an amazing man, and he said to me, Danny, he said, you don't know how to live. You're real dishonest. You're a criminal, basically.
Yeah.
And he got in my face. He said, but listen, I love you anyway. And he meant it. Like, he looked me right in my eye, and like a lot of people told me that, a lot of therapists told me that, a lot of but he would show up for me for fun and for free, no matter what. And he would pick me up and take me places, and every time we went somewhere, he knew everyone, and he would say, Dana, you got this guy's number, you need to grab Billy's number, you need to grab this guy's number. Billy, get over here, right? And he's that guy, and he was just like plugging me in, and he fully enmeshed me with everybody. And the love I felt from that, the camaraderie and the brotherly love was just so strong and overwhelming that it gave me hope. It really gave me hope. And that was the start. And he said, I just want you to show up every day here at the 7 a.m. morning AA meeting. and call me every day, and we'll make plans. I will help you with everything. You got a lot of stuff on your plate. You got court legal stuff going on. I was on house arrest, right? So I had that going on. I had probation, and I had a lot of financial issues, a lot of everything. He guided me in everything. And as I did these things, he was so slowly feeding my soul, giving me one little thing at a time to do and accomplish. And as I did them, without me even noticing, I started to feel good about myself, because for once I was accomplishing something that wasn't selling drugs or doing drugs. I was being quote unquote normal, and I was okay.
Right.
And I felt safe. And that was everything. And so, like, for me, I try to do that for everyone I come in contact with, just like he did for me, because I am forever grateful for him. He literally, he saved my life. You know, he saved my life. He did. And now it's like 4 years later, I'm a business owner. I didn't even finish 8th grade. I didn't finish 8th grade. I went to high school for one day. They pushed me passed me through 8th grade to get the hell out.
They didn't want you around.
They didn't want me there anymore. You know, and I went to 9th grade first day, and I left at lunchtime, never went back.
Wow.
And I had no education, no anything, you know, and he taught me so much, you know, and now I'm a business owner. I do my own books. I hated math, by the way. Still not a fan, but I want to learn today.
Yeah.
I want to grow. I want to do, right? So there's just so much to it, and I think it's so important to explore passions and explore what we're good at, because a lot of times I think addicts, we don't know what we're good at.
I think that's an excellent point, Dana, and that's something that we're going to talk a lot about on this show in the coming episodes. You know, we're certainly going to focus on some other areas, things like taking responsibility. I mean, because you're an addict or an alcoholic, it's not a get out of jail free pass. I mean, it doesn't mean, you know, I know we hear it all the time, but, well, I wasn't bad, I was sick. Mm-hmm. Well, the person that you robbed doesn't care that you were sick. The people that you terrorized, the things that you did. You know, if I do bad acts, it means I'm bad. But if I own it, I can change it.
Right.
If I own the behaviors that I have, if I own my anger, if I own my violence, if I own my hatred, if I own all those negative things that I took out on so many people, if I own those, it means they're mine. It means I can change them. If I say they weren't mine, how am I going to change them?
Absolutely.
There's a freedom in owning your worst behaviors, looking at them for what they are, and understanding what you've been and being something different. I have a view that I was a bad and I was evil. But because I could see that so clearly, I could change it. And that means I could be something different. But we'll talk more about that. But this thing about passion is really important to me. Mm-hmm. If you don't enjoy your life, why would you live it?
Correct.
If you're not having... If it doesn't interest you, if it doesn't pull your heartstrings, if you're not lit up by what you're doing, you wouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. You don't take hobbies that you don't like.
Right.
You know?
No, absolutely. And like, I think what I was saying too is like, we don't a lot of times know what we're good at. No, we don't know what we like either. No. Because we've been so numb for so long that so many things, so many experiences that most people that aren't addicted to drugs experience along the way in their life, we missed out on, right?
And we don't know. We don't know. I mean, here's a little experiment. Try this. Ask a 5-year-old, what do you like?
You don't know.
Ice cream, cake, pizza. They'll just say anything. Boogers. They don't care.
You're right.
You ask somebody in rehab, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite music? What's your favorite food? They don't know. Yeah. They have to think about what the right answer is instead of really just knowing the answer. They don't know themselves.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, I'm learning still things I like. And there's so many things I like today that I never would have thought I would have ever liked, and that I had little experiences with in my life prior that I hated, that I love today. Yeah,
like me and beets. I don't like beets, and I never will. That will never change.
But yeah, there's just so many things, and I think just having the open mind to be like, let me try this.
Like, give me a specific example. What is something that you found in recovery that kind of shocked you? That's like, wow, I really like this.
Reading.
Really?
I never read a book until I was sober.
And now do you read for like enjoyment?
Yeah, and I read a lot of I don't read as much as I'd like because of the business, but I do enjoy it when I do. If that makes sense.
Does every page have pictures or no?
No, actual good books. Yeah, I mean, like real good books. And I really like, I've gotten into a lot of spirituality books. I like exploring different spiritualities because to me, I'm very open-minded and I have a very broad, roomy view on spirituality.
Let me guess, you started with something like the Four Agreements or something like that, right?
No, well, actually, that was later. I think I started reading like whatever my sponsor was giving me. He was giving me different things, and he gave me different religious things too, because he was saying, he's like, you can learn. I'm not trying to push religion on you. He said, he's like, I'd like you to explore different avenues and see what works for you.
Right.
Because he was a diehard Catholic, like real.
But he wasn't pushing that on you.
No, he never pushed that on me once. And he knew I grew up Catholic, but I had some very bad experiences with Catholicism. I was molested by my priest, and I had a very, very rough view on
I've heard that story more times. It's so disturbing how many times I've heard that kind of statement.
Yeah, and I think he helped me get through that because he said, Dana, he said, I hope you don't have a resentment with the church because the church didn't hurt you. A sick man hurt you.
Yeah.
And now I look at it like that. I used to hate Catholicism. Now I love parts of Catholicism. There's a lot of stuff though I leave at the door. Right, and there's things in Buddhism I love, and there's things in Judaism I love. Right, there's so many things.
But again, that's something like we just said. If you don't develop a passion, if it doesn't turn you on in some way, light you up in some way, you're not going to do that. So spirituality, it could be that long journey of finding something, and it's just the light's gonna go on. You're gonna be like, not the light over the bed like spiritual moment. I mean, if you have that, you have that. But just where it's like, wow, I really want to know more about this. I want to learn about this. I found a lot of interesting things in like Native American beliefs and things like that.
Sure.
And I think sometimes a mistake that happens in treatment is that they define spirituality in one lane. It's kind of, you have to call it God. You have to believe, and it's like, and they almost fall into that. If you don't believe in God, you can't get sober.
Right.
Wow. I mean, come on, really?
Horseshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
It's bullshit, and it actually is really, it pisses me off when I hear that stuff because that's just so untrue. And one of my great mentors in sobriety told me, he said, Dana, look at God as good order, group of drunks for good orderly direction, right?
Yeah.
And that made so much easier and took that pressure off. Because I think we make up our own ideas depending on how we grew up and what we were exposed to, and we all and it's horseshit,
Understanding the difference between spirituality and religion is really important.
It's 100%.
And the term God is used in most programs is really kind of the generic term for that representation of your spirituality.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that. I believe you have to be connected to something. Well, either people, spirituality, dog rescues, I don't care.
Yeah,
you need to be emotionally somehow invested and connected to something. And that's what spirituality really is. It's about that emotional connection to whatever you need it to be. Like you said, it could be good orderly direction, group of drunks. It could be a Catholic God or it could be a Jewish beliefs. It could be Muslim. It doesn't matter.
Right. No, it doesn't. And I think it's important that people talk about that. I have a very simple view of of what God is to me and what spirituality is to me, and it's very, very simple, right? We're all born with a conscience, right? Mm-hmm. Right, where that voice in the back of the head, like when I'm about to do something really stupid, and it says, Dana, this is a terrible idea. What are you doing? Like, get out of there, right? Or whatever. I like to think that is internally as God.
See, now I've got a problem. I'm an old radio guy. I used to be in radio. In a radio, they got something called a delay.
Okay.
You know, where I'm talking and then they're hearing it, but there's a delay. It could be anywhere from 7 seconds to 30 seconds. It depends on how it's set.
Sure.
My problem is my conscience had the same delay. It would not kick in until after I did the dumb thing.
100%.
Because you know what? I learned how to just not listen to myself. I had no internal voice that I listened to. It was there and it was screaming. It was screaming when I was doing awful things, and it was screaming when I was about to do awful things. But I had become so adept in not listening to that and disconnecting from that.
100%.
Which is actually that absolute lack of spirituality, to be so disconnected from even yourself, right?
Right. And that's like having so much. I like to look at them. People say, like, in recovery, that's what's blocking me from God, right? And we have these blocks, right?
Yeah.
I like to look at it as behaviors that are blocking me from connecting, right?
Right.
How can I connect with anything of any kind of spirituality if I'm a liar, if I'm a cheat, if I'm a thief, if I'm an emotional terrorist?
I like that, emotional terrorist.
If I'm all those things, then I have no shot. But here's the thing: is when I say conscience, I had zero conscience when I was out there running and gunning. But when I sobered up and I it would come back, maybe slowly. But what I'm saying is that feeling internally that when I do something that I enjoy, that I like, when I have a friend and I see a friend that I haven't seen in a while, and you know that feeling, you're like, that warm feeling, like, I can't wait to give my boy or girl a hug.
Yeah.
That's God. That's relationship. That's all of this encompassed into one. God works through people.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I believe my spiritual condition is based on my attachment to the people around me and myself.
Right.
If I feel centered and if I feel connected and loved and loving others, that's all spiritual.
Yeah, and another thing, like, I've learned so much, and another thing I really like that I really identify with is God is love, right?
Yeah.
So when I feel love in my heart and I get that warm feeling, that's God, and I seek that. That's what I seek. I seek the warmness. I seek the relationships. I seek new friendships and new, right? Like, I want love. I want a lot of it. And I want to give a lot of it, because when I give a lot of it, I feel it internally.
It's so cool that you said it that way, because my daughter, who recently had to go back into treatment, had some issues, and she got very involved with this place that was really looking at spiritual things and stuff. And she's like, Dad, this God thing, I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. I want to. But I can't make it make sense. Yeah. And so I asked her, I said, well, do you love? She goes, yeah, I love you, Dad. And I'm like, no, you love me. You love, your friend. You love your relationship. You love different people. You love your brother and sisters. You love. She goes, yes, very much. I said, now explain what that is. And she said, what do you mean? I'm like, well, what exactly is that? What is love? Can you really define it and explain it? Yeah. Or is it just something that is? Yeah. And she says, well, I guess it's just something that is. And I said, well, maybe you ought to look at God that way too. Yeah. And this light went off. And it was so cool, because you get those light bulb moments with people. And since then, she's been much more interested in just expanding her outreach, expanding her horizons without defining every single moment. I think we overthink it. Yeah, we totally overthink it, and I think that's everything, right? So that's why I say I try to keep it very simple. I go for that. I thrive off of that. And those moments you just explained of that, watching someone's light go off, there's nothing like it. I thrive to help people see that and watch the light bulb go off. And there's nothing like that. There's been those moments, and it's almost like I don't deserve to feel this. Right. I mean, my God, I wish I could share. And you know the feeling when you see that light bulb go off, when you see somebody succeed, when you hear back from somebody you helped, and it's a couple years later, and they're married and they're doing these great things, and they contact you. I wish I could share that feeling with everybody and say, there's so many different sides of sobriety that we don't even know. It's not, we don't just help other people because we're supposed to. We help other people because it elevates us. It does something to us.
Right. And I think we lose track of all that stuff and we can't, when we're in that sick frame of mind,
Yeah.
we can't see anything but right here in front of us.
Mhm.
We can't see ahead, we can't
Yeah.
see side to side. It's literally
The blinders.
right. Yeah. It's literally right in front. And usually it's all about me, and I like to look at it like a wall of mirrors surrounding my head. That's all I can see is myself. And what's ever right in front of me. Nah, I'm not
you
caring.
vain bastard.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not caring about you or anyone else.
No, of course not.
And we just get so lost, and I think we forget about that. So I think it's so important to be able to explore these things with people and giving them, like you said at the beginning of the show, is a reason to live and reason to want to live, right, and have fun and. Because that's sobriety. That's real sobriety. If you're awake, I hate to burst anyone's bubble who might be in recovery listening to this, but if you're waking up every morning, having your cup of coffee, and you're living to go to the meeting and just going to the next meeting and the next meeting,
where's the life?
Yeah, I'd rather be out there getting high still.
Listen, a lot of good things start in those meetings.
Yeah.
A lot of good ideas, a lot of motivation, a lot of answers, a lot of things start. Mm-hmm. But then it's got to be put into practice, because if you don't put it into practice, you're basically, it's like you're going to school forever, but you're never going out there and starting something new.
Right. And I think the perception out there is I just got to stop doing drugs. Everything will be great. I hate to break the news to you, but drugs is a very small part of my problem.
Well, let's think about what is broken because of your addiction. Is it just the drugs?
Yeah. No.
How about your relationships?
Yeah.
How about your job?
Yeah.
How about your health?
Yeah.
How about your habits? How about your thinking? How about your emotions?
Financials. We could go on
financials.
And on and on and on and on. And it's like people just like that very narrow-minded. I just need to put the heroin or cocaine or alcohol down, and I'm going to be great. Not so much.
No.
A lot of times we get worse.
Yeah.
If we're not filling it with change and getting better and looking at those reasons why we do things and all the behaviors and the BS, right? If I'm not looking at those things and doing something about it, I'm either going to be dry and miserable and wish I was high every day, or I'm gonna get drunk or high again. And that's
the reality of it. That's the reality of it. Yeah.
100%.
And that's what we're going to be talking about on this show, successful recovery with Dana and Scott. And we're going to talk about, different things that we need to look at, maybe things that you haven't thought of before, maybe things that we've just noticed that are maybe missing in people's programs, or more importantly, try to give people a little bit of thought of finding passion in their life, finding things that light them up so that they can succeed and have successful recovery. That's what we're going to be doing. In the meantime, I work with Addiction Training Center. I'm a co-founder of Addiction Training Center. We work from that side. We help people to learn how to help people with addiction. So we teach people and train people in interventions and other skills, and we work with a lot of treatment centers and a lot of different people in the industry to make sure that when someone reaches out their hand, there's somebody there to help them. Now, you work in the end of in the treatment industry itself, right? Tell us about your place.
So absolutely. I founded Your Second Chance Recovery. We're out of Delray, and I started with a sober living. I thought my vision was to build it up and start a treatment center and all that. And but I started with sober living because I thought it was, with what we're talking about, the real work and recovery starts when I walk out of the door of a treatment center. Correct. So I thought, and I was just, especially in the area, sick of the revolving door and the halfways, and it's basically a lot of them. Be a nice house, and it's pay me your rent, pass your drug test, and that's it. that's it. And I mean, I had the experience of just continuously going to these halfways and have no idea what to do and no support and getting high right away, and so I wanted to do something different and be very involved and hands-on and guide and plug every person that walked through my halfway house door into my group of friends of recovery, and introducing them to old timers that were great, that helped me, and just different great meetings, because there are good and bad meetings out there.
Certainly,
and so I was very involved like that, and then it evolved, and now I my good friend Dan and I expanded to a alternative to treatment program. And when I say alternative treatment, it's exactly that. It's like a bridge between treatment and sober living, right? And life skills and exploring passions and different perceptions, and not just taking them through the 12 steps.
And they take a lot of responsibility for their own care while they're with you.
Right.
It's not just, you don't just serve them everything.
Right. Yeah. They're cooking, they're getting cooking classes if they don't know how to cook. They're getting real life skills and being able to practice these things while under our care, but also being able to go out into the recovery community. We give them enough leash to be able to experience recovery. And we got guys going out with other guys with years of sobriety. They went skydiving. And I was like, I didn't know how I felt about it at first, but then I was like, this is awesome. Because these guys were having an amazing experience with a bunch of sober guys that were sober for years, and they had the time of their life. And when they came back, because they went down the Keys for it, the passion and the lit up faces, and they couldn't wait to come back and tell me how it went, and that was.
The good news is they all came back. That was the good news.
Right?
No splats.
Right. And but the look on their faces, and just like they're like, wow. And they all just like said, Dan, thanks for everything with doing this, because it was like that was the funnest I've had since I was a little kid. And I was like, that right there is everything, and they couldn't wait to plan something else with guys in sobriety, and it was awesome. And we're seeing a lot of good success for that, because they're actually experiencing things, and it's not just like closed off behind closed doors in a nice place and sitting with a therapist and talking to them and all that stuff and learning about the disease.
No, it's living.
Yeah, it's really living. And yeah, we do all those things while having them do life.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's what we got going on.
So if they want to get in touch with you and learn more about your Second Chance Recovery, how do they do that?
So we have a website. It's called it's www.y as in yellow. S as in Sam. No, I'm kidding. www.yscrecovery.
YSC, your second chance.
Right.
YSCrecovery.com.
And our phone number, let me pull it up because I don't have it memorized. I probably should have that phone memorized, right?
Yeah,
So our number is 561-862-3165, and that we are available 24/7, and we're not just about taking people, like if people need help and we're not the right place for them,
you'll help them find
help them find something that works for them and that's a better fit, or whatever, more affordable, steering people in the right direction.
So if you want to learn more about your Second Chance Recovery, yscrecovery.com, and all their contact information is there as well. If you want to learn more about getting involved and becoming an interventionist or learning more about addiction, check us out at atceducation.com. That's atceducation.com.
I took the course, by the way, and it was a great course, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed taking it, and now I'm a certified interventionist, which I'm proud of.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's pretty cool, so get out there, and if you're interested in helping others, it's a great way to do so.
All right, and in the meantime, make sure that you share this with your friends. This is all obviously on the ATC network on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. We'll have more episodes of Successful Recovery coming your way with Dana and Scott. But for now, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.